Uh, To order, July 11th. I'm joined by Sheila Vaccaro and Bernie Flynn. Our second item is comments, suggestions, petitions by residents and tenants regarding items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to discussion item 3A, departmental monthly report, starting with Public Works.
Good evening, Don Edwards, Public Works Director. You have a report. I'm going to highlight just two things, both of which you're pretty familiar with. For the paving project, we're still waiting for the paperwork from Glasgow. And once we have that, hopefully they will be RCO compliant and we'll be able to proceed like we had planned.
When is the day?
I think they have 14 days and they're probably at least half into that. So probably the next week. So, and then the second is the illicit discharge. We've been working hard. I've provided some by email. Be happy to answer any questions you have. I know that's a big deal.
Are there any questions?
About the discharge.
Okay.
We understand that one.
Mhm.
The PICO was very nice to get back to you, Mr.
Yeah.
Anderson, but as usual, nothing's been done. So is there anything, the curb at New and Market, the tripping hazard for the handicap people?
Okay, we'll follow up.
And they forgot to mark Woolerton Avenue, Streeter Avenue. Mr. Anderson's well aware.
Okay.
Is there anything we can do to get them to move faster because of the tripping hazard?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll follow up. And with our new PICO rep, I would expect her to follow up. I didn't have that confidence before. So I just tell her how important it is because it's, for ADA compliance, and I hope that she'll do it. Not sure if you want anything more than that, but
Yeah, the initial problem started with the concrete guy when he replaced the curb and the electrical boxes.
Yeah.
That's where the problem started. But
Yeah.
when I talked to Kehoe when they were paving,
Mhm.
basically the guy told me just go home and have coffee, because he
Ah,
really
good.
wasn't interested in putting a shovel full of macadam, at the edge so people wouldn't trip. But you're well aware of it. Thanks.
I'll be happy to.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to tell PICO that their contractor was rude if you'd like. No.
My wife's worse than that to me.
Okay. Okay. All right. Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Sure.
Wastewater.
Good evening. Sean Mitchell, Goose Creek Wastewater Superintendent. We were a little busy this past month at both plants. Taylor Run drained and cleaned both of their clarifiers. Similar to what we do, they drop it down, squeegee the whole bottom out, adjust the turnbuckles, check all the bolts, nuts, anything like that, and refill them. They disassembled, acid washed a soda ash pump and their check valves and painted primary scum pumps. All 4 pump stations were cleaned and inspected for their quarterly maintenance. A set of sensor wires for flow monitoring was replaced at Minor Street. Upon inspection of ventilation fans from the heat, we found 3 broke or worn out belts. They were replaced. Let's see, what else was there? We rebuilt a gear reducer. We installed in our stake body, we have a portable diesel tank we hardwired in. We help out Public Works with any of their equipment that needs filled, any of our engine generators, equipment out in the field, pumps, lawnmowers, anything like that. So now you just flip a switch instead of getting jumper packs out and all that stuff. Made it safer. And we also disassembled, inspected, and are waiting on a mechanical seal for a recirculated water pump. With that, we have a bigger project coming up where usually once every 10 years, we have the prime time to drop our almost 1 million gallon tank. We're going to start that actually tomorrow. With college being down, and the prime situations that we're in with the flows and everything, we're going to, first time in 10 years, drop this tank to inspect it, clean it. Everything goes, hopefully, knock on wood, everything's in great shape, and we just clean it up and fill it back up again.
Any major impacts on the recent storms from infiltration?
We had very minor, thank goodness, knock on wood. Minor Street is usually stones in the collection, in the bar screen at the pump station. There was very minor amount there. We didn't have I think we had one call out during the storms for high flow. So we were actually good.
Here. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, at Minor Street again, the contractors down there tearing the streets up again. My biggest fear is how they're treating that brand new generator we put in there with dust and dirt and stuff blowing into it.
We're monitoring it. We have extra filters. We went out and actually blew it off with a compressor just to clean out the insides to make sure that it wasn't being overdone. So, because we did have a couple people see that it was very dusty and cloudy down there when they were cutting. So we're being proactive and trying to clean it out.
Yeah, I was just worried about down there because that cost us a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the last thing they're thinking about when they're saw cutting the street.
Right.
And then when they start digging. And I'm glad you guys were on.
Yeah, actually, one of our newer employees caught that and said it's coated in dust. So they went out and took a compressor and just blew everything out of it.
Right. All right. Great. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation?
Hi, I am not Keith Karowski, the Director of Parks and Recreation. He will be out until August 2nd. And our recreation coordinator that we hired is a seasonal full-time employee. She's actually in Iceland right now, kayaking next to icebergs, I found out, but still sending emails. So we're staying on top of operations. Isabella will be back on July 19th. And the concert at Everhart Park on the 20th will still go on as planned with Venom Blues. We're looking for a musical act for the concert at John O'Green Park. That is TBD. The big thing on my plate, and I'm sure everyone who's listening and has heard about the Westchester Baseball League, has been to draft an agreement that would be acceptable to council and acceptable to the league. And we've gone back and forth with that. I think we've had really fruitful conversations. I want to thank the mayor for organizing a conversation between myself and the president of the baseball league, as well as their benefactor who finances a lot of the capital improvements and plans for the field. I will continue to circulate the draft agreement. Kristen has reviewed it. I have changed it. It has been in the hands of the league. The league has come back with 3 things that they want to think about in the agreement, but those are policy choices that can't be made by me. The agreement has to reflect the policy that council wants to engage in. And those issues come down to whether or not the baseball league would be empowered to sublease to other users of the field. There were some insurance details that came up in our conversations. I think they can be handled administratively. We had a conversation with our insurance team today to iron those out. I will clarify those in an email to everybody involved. And then the other outstanding issue is a fee for services, fee for using the field. I believe, I can't speak entirely for the league, but I think they would argue that their maintenance should be treated as an in-kind, have some dollar value in that discussion. And I will do my best to enumerate what that dollar value is. And that is council's decision to figure out what that fee would be. From the last time we spoke publicly about this, we had 2 conditions in place that would have to be met in order to enter into agreement. One of them would be the payment of any water used by the league. and we received a check for that, the amount of $279. I have it. The league uses roughly $200 a month in the summer seasons to irrigate the infield, is about what it's looking like. We don't have a lot of data because it's the first year that it's been going on, but that's roughly what to expect going forward. The other larger thing is a solution to contain more of the foul balls that come off the field of play. We talked about some options with the league as well as their benefactor. And some different designs were discussed, some solutions were, it's still a work in progress. We went back to the vendor to ask if they could do something that would be, that they weren't offering in their product catalog that would contain more of the foul balls. They replied they wouldn't be able to do that. But I don't think we should stop there. I'm suggesting that as a condition condition in this agreement that there be a netting solution in place by May 1st of next year, which is the beginning of next year's baseball season. It would take them about 12 to 14 weeks to get the infrastructure installed on the field, best case scenario. And by then, they're not playing ball on the field anymore. And it doesn't make any sense to put it up and then take it right back down again for winter storage. So that's why they suggested May 1st as a go live date for that solution. But I think it should be a mutually agreed upon solution. I don't think we're going to be able to spell it out in great detail by next Tuesday, what that solution is. We're still working on it. So I would suggest some language in the agreement that it be mutually agreed upon, but it be in place by May 1st of next year.
Please. The only two things that I noticed in the agreement was that it didn't require, we talked about it, you and I, but it didn't require the list of the, and I may have missed it because the writing is kind of small, a list of the board members and their emails and their information. I didn't think that was in the agreement.
Okay.
And I feel a little bit better about the water if somehow we can put a meter, flow meter on the water,
Mhm.
then they can water to their heart's content instead of just worrying about, shutting it off, turning it on. Other than that, and I think Mr. Fink could probably do a simulation of foul balls. Because I just assume he's the greatest guy in the world with computers. Because you and I, and if you play baseball, you understand, you have an infield fly rule that you have to allow for the ball to go up in the air. But the foul.
It's only with runners on first and second. and less
Exactly,
than
less
2
than
outs.
2 outs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Look at that.
I thought you were saying Mr. Fink hits a lot of.
Yeah, Mr. Fink, he could do a trajectory of foul balls to see actually how high where the ball's going.
Mhm.
And maybe we just have to go straight up in the air, with netting and catch the balls that way. Because at the stadiums, baseball stadiums, they don't have that. They're hitting the bleachers up top so that people can get the foul balls. But I think Mr. Fink could probably do a trajectory. That would give him some fun instead of doing sewer caps and stuff like that. But they're the other two things I was thinking about.
Okay.
And that would be less expensive. We could weld some bars up there and then stretch the, probably have to be about 20 feet in the air to knock them down. That's about it. And Mr. Anderson said he climbed the pole to put it up. So I knew that. Yeah.
So
We have
that,
a drone player that could capture those. I had just two questions. One regarding the agreement, the parking, we are allowing parking on the streets. Did I read that correctly?
yes,
Okay, so.
not on
there's no
Walden Drive,
limitations.
but on the streets, on Ashbridge and on Hoops Park Lane. Yeah, there's more than enough supply.
Okay.
Around the park.
My second question was unrelated to that, but to the master plan, where we stand on that.
I can give you an update in more detail via email, but I do know that we are, the last thing Keith and I were talking about last month was about starting enough of the project to get the bid submitted for Partnership Program so that enough of the work of the planning process could be accounted for in that bid and that, not bid, sorry, grant application, sorry. So the timing of it, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I'll look into that. I'll make a note to do that and send you all a update.
Thank you.
Okay,
Any other questions? Thank you.
all right.
Mr. Notkarowski. Item D, engineers report.
Good evening, everyone. Couple things I'll hit on in this month's report. Our roof project is proceeding nicely, actually done with the bulk of the work. That includes new insulation, decking, membrane, and drainage work. That's all completed. It's much quieter now. It's nice. Our ICC issue with the mechanical subcontractor solved itself, as these things tend to do. After the new installation was installed, the concern was we weren't going to have space to flash properly. And we didn't know that for sure until the new insulation was installed. It was installed. We have enough real estate. So no mechanical work to be done, no permit needed, no ICC certification required. But lesson learned, next time we're putting together a bid package that requires something that might require one of those permits, we put in our ICC requirements. So we're waiting on skylight glass replacement, flashing, and the roof coating, and that's all pending delivery of materials and remobilization of the contractor. I'm personally grateful for the extra installation as we enter the summer. Our grant work continues. We had $1 million in applications going in June. Working on a $3 million application to implement streetscape improvements that were envisioned by the South High Street Improvement Plan that PennDOT was not taking on as part of their project. If you recall, their project is very much in the right of way, sort of nuts and bolts, and it bypassed all the sort of aesthetic upgrades that we would require if we were doing it ourselves or if developers were doing it piecemeal like we're doing. So there's a program that's the bread and butter of the program. We're putting together a really big application, zero match, later this month. And there's also a pre-application due for, I believe it's a PennDOT program. We're going to combine our Gay Street open air marketplace infrastructure and the pedestrian safety infrastructure project. Those three intersections, High and Biddle, New and Gay, and Price and Brandywine. Put that into one big umbrella project under the guise of pedestrian safety and submit that. So that'll also end up being about $1 million project with a grant due later this summer, but a pre-application is due this month. We anticipate remobilization of the contractor for 322 Bradford Plaza in the next couple of weeks. Just a couple punch list items there, and one of them is getting handled by our electrical contractor, moving one of the pedestrian button things that they mounted in a weird way and not the way the plans called for. What's that? Yeah, so they did that because they, I forget what you call it, but they thought it would require an extension to the pedestrian button. And I guess people go around and like kick those things off. And so their experience said, let's not do this. We'll just mount it to the side of the pedestal and it'll be fine. So it's gone back on the pedestal and we'll just need a really, really short extension for the push button. Shouldn't be a big deal. But hopefully that's all done by the next time we get together for this committee meeting. And then High and Minor, we talked about Premier Concrete. Council awarded a bid 2 months ago now at the meetings. Last month, we had just gotten a bunch of documentation from them that we really hadn't had time to evaluate. It was like minutes before our meeting started. So we still have not issued our responsible contractor determination. However, we have gotten letters of participation and good standing for themselves and their electrical subcontractor in 4 apprenticeship programs, operating engineers, laborers, steel workers, and heavy and highway contractors, District 10. So Yeah, every time we're ready to roll them out, they come through. Frankly, that's just the way it's been. Council could, at any time at this point, given the time it's taken, kick them to the curb and reject the bid. But we've invited Kelly Goff from Remington and Vernick to come to the work session next week. Just give us a 5-minute update on where we are. If everyone's comfortable with the documentation, we can issue that determination, publish everything online for 10 days, and then sign a contract. If not, we can reject the bid. So with that, I'll take questions.
None here. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
We will move on to the action items. For A, approve the sale of the 1986 portable generator and the 2007 Aquajet vacuum trailer.
Sean Mitchell, Goose Creek Superintendent. The wastewater department from the sewer fund would like to have the approval to sell a 1986 portable generator. The wastewater department had two. One was an 86, one's an 88, I believe. The 88 we are keeping. We can still get parts for it. And it does run. That is our sole backup for the Worthington Street pump station. The 86 is very, very, very limited on parts and it runs. So we would like to try to make a little profit off of it. The 2007 Aquajet vacuum trailer, I've tried to get, we have an older one that's still there, you know, like old refrigerators. My beer refrigerator from 1974 is still working. I've been through 3 other ones in my kitchen. Our original one is still working at Taylor Run. This one we built just due to the size. It's a 6-inch hose off the top, so it bounces. Over the years from 2007, everything inside it started to corrode. We sandblasted it, coated it, everything twice. Now to get it welded is an astronomical cost. I've even tried to get a quote to replace the tank, the arm, and all the obstructions that go with it, and they about laughed at me, said just buy a new one. So we're looking to sell that also with the proceeds to go back to the sewer fund.
I'm in favor. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. And finally, 4B, approve the June minutes of the Public Works Committee. Any objections? All right. We are adjourned at 6:53.